This is one of the most anticipated videos when it comes to World of Tanks Blitz Reforged. For all of the people that have hated what Wargaming has been doing so far, finally, Reforged seems to be shaping more in the vision of the community and less in the vision of Wargaming. And if we keep things heading this way, it seems like we might actually get a half-decent game to play. So what exactly is going on with Reforged Ultra Test 3? Well, today I'll be letting you know everything you're going to need to. As always, I'll always be the first source of information when it comes to everything you need to know World of Tanks Blitz. And if you want to keep your voice heard and you want to make sure that Wargaming continues changing and balancing the game towards your criticism, make sure to let me know in the comments down below what you guys think, and I will forward it to Wargaming. Make sure that you share this video to other people and friends, and even to the people that originally said Reforged sucked. This might help you realize that if we continue pushing Wargaming in the direction that we want, we might actually have a pretty good game to finish off with. So with that being said, what changed from the previous Ultra Test to the current one? Well, actually a lot. Most importantly, commanders. They're gone. Commanders are no longer in Reforged. You can see that in place of where commanders used to be, we now have crew perks, which are the same crew perks that we have in our current state of Blitz. I've looked at all the crew skills. They are exactly the same. There's no differences between them. I don't even understand why Wargaming made a big deal about removing these crew skills, and they were like, oh, it's really challenging to grind them, but it's really not. There's something called Noob Matchmaker. It means that if you're under 5,500 games, you're almost guaranteed to be placed with other players under 5,500 battles. On my free-to-play account, which only has like 3-ish thousand games, I've already managed to grind most of these crew skills to level 5. What Wargaming needs to do, instead of trying to put commanders into the game, is give better tutorials. Work with YouTubers like me and help players understand how the crew perks work, and this will definitely accelerate a lot of players' skill. But in general, Wargaming has removed commanders, and this is huge. It's absolutely huge because it makes the game a much better place, basically like the current Blitz we play in terms of gameplay. That's not to say that everything has stayed the same. For example, provisions, they're gone. And what Wargaming has done is they've thrown provisions into equipment. So we can see right here, this would be your food, which is giving you 3% buffs and 2% buffs. And then you have like another large food here, which gives you better traverse speed and, again, more buffs to your overall tank's capabilities. I don't love how Wargaming is giving you the option of a slightly better top speed versus all of these buffs. I would always choose combat control unit, so Wargaming definitely needs to balance these equipment out, and I think they should add actually another row of equipment at the bottom so that they can properly vet all of these. But in general, I understand why they've done this. Most players don't run provisions because they can't afford them, especially in tier 10, spending an additional 20 to 30,000 credits to have your tank properly equipped. It's just not something that most players do, so they've put them into equipment. That way you're kind of forced to run provisions. But I do think that the overall balance of equipment needs to be just a little bit better. One of the things that I still find really weird, and I don't personally agree with, is the removal of limited ammo. What exactly do I mean? Well, you can see that when it comes to AP and high explosive, there's no shell cap. I have an unlimited amount of AP and high explosive shells. Heats, you have a cap on, but I can have 32 heat shells, which is basically unlimited. This tank has like 500 damage per shot, so if you do the math and you do 500 damage per shot multiplied by the 32 shells, that's 16,000 potential damage in premium. It's basically saying, hey, it's completely fine to just spam as much gold as you want. Personally, I like the fact that the game punishes you for running too much gold or too much this or that. You should have a shell cap. I don't have a problem with Wargaming increasing the shell cap for certain tanks, like, for example, the T-57 Heavy runs out of shells, and I think that Wargaming should increase the amount of shells it has, maybe by 20. But I don't love the idea of there being no punishment whatsoever, because you just don't have to worry about ever running out of ammo. I think ammo is something that requires skill, and if you equip your tank better than other players, it'll help you out, right? So I do think that there should still be a limit to how much ammo you have. It's a simple change, and I think it would make the game a little bit better in that regard, and I think most of you would agree. Consumables, in general, have stayed the same. Now, what's interesting is that certain tanks, for example, vehicles with gear oil, that actually is replaced in the equipment, which I don't fully agree with. And if we pull out a tank that has gear oil, I'll show you exactly what I mean. So this is the Waffenträger, and if we go to upgrades and we go to the equipment, you can see that, for example, we have Spall Liner. available instead of a buff. I don't love this because it means that other tanks get big buffs instead of Spallliner, and it's not entirely fair if you ask me. I'd much rather have Protective Kit taken away, or again, as I said, an additional row of equipment. Why, like, for example, Spallliner here versus if you're running a tank that, you know, doesn't get Spallliner like the Jagdtiger, you go to upgrades, this tank can get 3% faster traverse speed, 3% better engine power, 3%. All the other tanks can get this. So what it means is that your Waffenträger is going to have slightly worse view range, slightly worse capabilities than a different tank, and you don't have the option. It's not like the current Blitz where you have the option of running Spallliner or running food. What Wargaming's done is they've taken away that ability, and you don't have that option. So I don't really agree with that. Wargaming, you do need to rework the equipment here. It's taking away instead of giving players choices. So as I said, add an additional row of equipment, and then you can give players options just like provisions, or keep provisions in the game. Those are your two options. I think limiting the options is not the best way to do it, because, as I said, what if I don't want to drive my Waffenträger with Spallliner? In fact, in World of Tanks Blitz right now, my grill doesn't have Spallliner on it. I run double food and fuel, so I can have better, or no, I run double food and gear oil. That way I can have the maximum DPM and mobility. So I don't really fully agree with the decisions that Wargaming made here, but it's nitpicking, right? But I want to make sure that these voices are still heard, so that way when Wargaming does inevitably roll out Reforged, everything that I've had to say is being taken into account. Now that Wargaming has removed commanders from the game, most of the criticism is going to fall on the overall UI, keys, sets, and the tech tree. And that is what we're about to talk about. Wargaming has definitely cleaned up the tech tree. First of all, it's really nice that when you click on the tanks icon, it doesn't immediately bring you to the sets, it brings you to the tech tree tab, which is really good because if you're used to the tech trees, you don't need to click anywhere else. Boom, you automatically have tech trees placed right in front of you. Now, I do like what Wargaming has done. Compared to the previous version of Reforged, this is way, way better. Like, if you look at the French tree here, it's super simple to understand, right? You go from the SAU 40 to the Foch, the B1, all the way to the AMX 50B, the AMX ELC BIS, etc., etc. It's much cleaner. It's much easier to understand all of the lines in front of you. However, I still have complaints. A big complaint is that Wargaming's kind of deceiving players. On paper here, it looks like you go from the M5 Stuart to the Type T34, and then it branches off to the WZ, the Type 58, and the 5916. That's not actually the case. Wargaming made it so that it looks like that, but in reality, if you click on the M5 Stuart set, it grinds to the 121, and that's it. It doesn't grind to any of these other tanks. If you want to get your hands on the 131, you have to click this set here, Armored Wrath, and then you can get to the 113 GFT. Wargaming, why did we draw lines that clearly show these, tank trees all connected to each other if it's clearly not actually allowing you to grind across different sets and trees? Remove the lines. You're simply confusing players. I don't know if that was your intention, but it's definitely the result. So that's the first thing. The second thing, which I've been saying since day one, please remove the goofy profile pictures. We don't need the profile pictures of the sets. You don't even need the name of the set. All the players want to do, for example, let's say I'm a beginner, I'm looking at the tech tree here, and I want to see the BZ75. I'm not going to click on the little divine cannons. I'm just going to click on the BZ75, and then the game is going to show me the tank in the set. That's all you have to do. Remove the goofy profile pictures. It's a waste. They look like Adobe stock photos. Remove them. It's just a waste of assets. That's my personal opinion. It would look a lot cleaner on the tech tree without having these goofy profile pictures. If you don't want to remove them, then give players the option of removing them in the settings tab, in the UI tab. That way I can remove them because I think they just kind of make the game look a little bit uglier. In terms of keys, here's what I'll say. I don't know exactly how Wargaming is planning on balancing the game. See, the thing is, Wargaming themselves said they want players to grind the game in a more fluid motion, meaning that you might only be able to grind 1 or 2 tier 10 lines before you get your hands on some more experience lines. And I don't disagree with that thought process. For example, the Leopard 1 is one of the most challenging tier 10 mediums to play in the game. And I don't think a beginner should instantly be able to grind a Leopard 1. I think if you're a beginner, you should have options like the E50M or the E100, options that are really good for a beginner to experience and understand the play styles of different vehicles. But here's the thing. you can still spend money to buy keys and then unlock the sets anyway. So it's not like Wargaming's slowing down players. They're just making it so that if you want to get tech trees, you can now just spend money. And you can still buy tier 10s, and Noob MMs still exist in our current version of the game. So that means that you still don't fight most of these players until they reach 5,500 games anyway. So either way, I don't really agree with that thought process. In my opinion, keys exist in the game for the sole purpose of getting more money. I still believe that. I think most players will agree. I don't know why keys need to exist. Wargaming, if you want to make it for players to grind a little bit longer, just make it so that you level up and you unlock certain sets as you level up that are harder to play. For example, the Leopard 1 and the Grill, you unlock after maybe level, 100 or something like that. You get my point. I think that would be a lot better than the key system that you currently have. But we'll see. Wargaming themselves said directly that keys should not be a problem for experienced players, and it should not hinder your grinding. But imagine you're a reroll, right? Imagine you're starting a new account, and you're already experienced at the game. Are you going to have to spend money if you want to grind more than one line at a time to progress the game faster? I don't know exactly how I feel about that, and I still don't think it's a great idea. So I think that as a community, we should still be very negative towards keys and just honestly have them removed from the game. But overall, the tech trees look a lot better, and I think we can agree in that regard. Wargaming did a pretty good job. It looks way better, it's way cleaner, and good job to Wargaming on that part. While I do have critiques, they aren't huge, but I still would like them to be answered, and I think that it would make the game look a lot better in that regard. Now, when it comes to the browse, I still think that Wargaming needs to fix the names of these, like Eagle Shield Division. That doesn't mean anything, Wargaming. I would much rather have you choose names that actually make sense. That way, players know what they're clicking on. For example, instead of Musou Tech, it should be Japanese Super Heavy. That way, you understand, okay, I'm grinding a Japanese tank, and it's heavily armored. Instead of Musou Tech, that doesn't mean anything. And yes, I know you got the little badges here which say exactly what the tanks have going for them, but, like, pretend I have a friend, and they're asking me, I'm new to the game, and they're going to ask me, oh, hey, Droods, what set are you grinding? Oh, I'm grinding the Musou Tech. He's going to be like, what? What are you talking about, dude? I don't really understand that. You have one that's named like Minnow, and I think that's the best named one. I would definitely follow suit. Yeah, this one here, Minotauro. Why can't you just make all of your sets named like that? This one's Minnow. Perfect. Great. Name the 121 set 121. Name the 4005 set the 4005, right? That's what I would do. I think it's a much better way of designing the sets. It would make the names a lot more understandable. The premium sets are fine, right? If you want to have goofy names for the premium ones, it's whatever, because they're all premium tanks. But for the tech tree ones, I think you should still leave it as what the tier 10 in the line is. But you guys can obviously let me know what you think about that in the comments. Overall, the tech tree is definitely looking a lot better. I like the fact that you still have the sets, because it's nice to be able to search over here if you want to search a specific tank. And it's also nice to be able to click on autoloader or strong armor or whatever it is. Wargaming still needs to understand what the heck they're talking about. Like in strong armor, there are certain tanks which shouldn't exist here. For example, the M6 Yo, not a strong armor tank. It has good armor, but it's definitely not strong armor. It's a hull down, kind of more lightly armored, heavy in that regard. So I would definitely like to see better decisions in the tags. I would love to talk with Wargaming or the devs and tell them exactly where each tank should fit in their own category. Obviously, Reforged is looking a hell of a lot better. When it comes to the overall design of the tech trees, good job, Wargaming. It looks better. When it comes to the overall removal of commanders, great. We don't have to focus any more criticism on that. Keys still need to go. I think 99.99% of the player base are going to agree with this, and I don't think we're going to rest until keys are removed. But something that really needs to have a lot of criticism diverted to is the overall profile. It's awful. I'm sorry. This is terrible Wargaming. If we take a look at the current profile that we have in Blitz, it's great. You see how many battles a player has. You see how many victories, what their overall win rate is, average damage, most damage in a battle, average XP, accuracy, whatever. It shows you all the stats you need to see right here. Do I want to see their stats on a specific tank? Boom, I can scroll right here. Takes me 5 seconds. Shows me the win rate, how many games they've played, and their overall average damage. This is great. It's simple, and it gets the job done. It's perfect the way it is. Well, not in Reforged. In Reforged, there is no win rate on the front screen. You cannot look at a player's win rate here. It also doesn't really show you anything. It literally just shows you what division they're in and their account name. That's it. It's pretty freaking useless. If you want to actually take a look at a player's win rate, you have to go to this player's stats page. And no, it's not on this page here. You have to actually scroll down, and then you'll find the win rate tucked away in this little corner here at 67.122. But it gets worse than that, because you can't actually see a player's win rate in each individual tank. If I click on individual tank stats, for example, we can see the T49. If I go to stats, it shows how many battles, but it doesn't show how many games I've lost. It doesn't show the win rate. It literally does not show the win rate of the tank. Why? Why are we so scared of showing win rate wargaming? Why is this something that we're like, oh, people are going to judge other players? Yes, it's a video game. Video games are meant to be competitive, right? This isn't meant for 5-year-olds. So I don't understand why we're hiding stats. It's so annoying, dude. Players, people watching today's video, please grill wargaming on the profile. This is terrible. I want to be able to click on somebody's account, see their win rate, see their damage, see their stats of every single tank, just like we have in Blitz. It didn't need the change. It was perfect. And I think most players can agree. That is very basic, especially because Wargaming is planning on adding 3 marks, as we've seen from Alexandra and Tony's Arms on little sneak peeks in the past. So it's weird to me that they're also trying to hide win rate and overall capabilities there. I hate the way the profile is. I don't want to have to go searching for somebody's win rate to see how they were on my team. I just don't like that, you know? So I would really like Wargaming to focus on making this game still competitive and still having an emphasis on stats and skill and overall player performance. When you remove win rate from a player's account, it makes it, like, for example, let's say I'm playing in the Waffenträger and I want to see how good I'm doing in this tank. Well, in the current version of Blitz, right, it takes me 1 second. I click on the tier 9, go to Germany, go to Tank Destroyer, Waffenträger, boom, tanks. I can see my win rate, 78%, my average damage, 3,300. Okay, now we're in Reforged. I want to see my statistics on this vehicle. Okay, I go to Profile. Okay, now I go to Tanks. Now I have to go to Individual Tank Stats. Now I have to go to the search function. Now I have to go to tier 9. Now I have to go to Germany. Now I have to go to Tank Destroyer. Okay, now we've done the filter. Now it's going to show me the Waffenträger, but it's not going to show me my win rate in the tank. It's only going to show me my average damage and how many games I've played. It's physically impossible for me to see my win rate. I literally, it's impossible for me to see the win rate that I've performed. That is such bad game design. And I absolutely despise this. So, yeah, I think we need to be very loud and clear that we want stats to stay in the game. If Wargaming goes through with these changes, it's going to make it very hard for skilled players to actually enjoy this game, because a lot of skilled players like looking at their stats and how they're performing in a vehicle. And not only is it a pain for me to find the specific tank that I'm performing XYZ in, but then you're telling me I can't even see my win rate in it? Are you telling me I should just focus on only dealing damage now and not care about winning battles at all? Because that's what it seems like to me. Win rate should be something that's emphasized. It should be something that is taught upon players to get better at the game and win more battles. When you remove skill, you remove growth and development. So I highly disagree with that. So that brings us to the final part of Reforged, and that is, how does the game look and run in the current state? Well, I can tell you guys, the game is running actually really good. On this map, for example, Yukon, I'm sitting at 150 FPS. I'm not really getting any lag, and in general, it actually looks pretty dang nice. So I have to give Wargaming credit. They've definitely done a much better job optimizing this game, which is probably one of the most important things they've been doing with Reforged, is making the optimization better, making this game more enjoyable to actually use. The graphics look really nice. They're a little bit washed out on this map, but in general, they still look pretty dang good. And not only do the graphics look a lot better, but I haven't really been having any lag. I had a teeny lag spike on Castilla, but in general, I mean, you guys are watching. I'm chilling at over 130 to 140 FPS, which is more than I normally get on our current version of World of Tanks Blitz. And yeah, the game looks way better. It's running way better. So in general, seems way better. And I think most of you would agree. So yeah, I have to give Wargaming credit where credit is due. It seems like they have actually done a good job on Reforged, and it's looking a lot better. As I said, there are still complaints that I have. I don't like the way they've designed the profile and the fact that they're basically removing stats from the game. I don't like the fact that that obviously the tech trees are still involving keys, but it's a lot better. It's a hell of a lot better. And I think that players can rest assured that if Reforged were to drop, at least in its current state right now, it would still be pretty similar to the current Blitz we play. I just really hope that they fix the overall UI when it comes to the tech tree. My guess, or not the tech tree, the overall UI when it comes to the player profile. My personal guess is that Wargaming wasn't really focused on that because they were more focused on actually getting the game to run better, removing commanders, and making the tech tree better. But now that they've fixed a lot of those things, we need to focus our complaints towards other areas that needs to be fixed. And this is definitely an area that definitely needs to be worked on. But yeah, game runs fine, as you can see. There's no real graphical complaints. It's running really good. So here, if you want my overall opinions, here's what I'll say. Reforged is looking a hell of a lot better. Way, way better. The game's running better. The overall tech tree and UI design look way better. The game itself is much better. It's still not perfect. There are issues that need to be fixed. For example, the cosmetics, I don't understand what Wargaming expects me to do here. There's no way I'm scrolling through every single 8 billion camo I have. It needs to be like our current one where it's a drop down of all the camos with their own little icons. But in general, it's looking better. I think with the next Ultra test, we'll finally have a definitive build of what Reforged is going to look like, and it'll probably release soon after that. So that's my personal opinions. I'm going to say good job to Wargaming, but there's still things that need to be done. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and if you want to see more like this, make sure to smash that subscribe button. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.